The year was 2247. Humanity had finally achieved faster-than-light travel after decades of research and countless failures. Earth scientists had cracked the secret of folding space, and now humans could reach distant stars in weeks instead of centuries. But they were not the first ones to arrive. Ambassador Jiho sat in the command chair of humanity's first deep space diplomatic vessel, the Defiance. Through the massive viewing window he could see them. 30 alien warships floated in the darkness at the edge of Earth's solar system, each one 3 times the size of humanity's largest space station. They had appeared without warning 6 hours ago, their energy signatures lighting up every sensor array from Mars to Neptune. Captain Minji approached him quietly, her face tense. "Sir, they're hailing us again. 4th time in the last hour." Jiho nodded slowly. "Open the channel." The main screen flickered to life, and an alien face appeared. It had golden scales, sharp angular features, and 3 black eyes arranged in a triangle on its face. When it spoke, the translation computer converted the clicking sounds into Korean. "I am Admiral Zekros of the Galactic Empire Survey Fleet. Your primitive species has been located and assessed. You will allow our integration teams to land on your homeworld. You will submit to Imperial authority. This is standard procedure for all newly discovered civilizations." Jiho leaned forward in his chair, keeping his expression calm. "I am Ambassador Jiho, representing the United Government of Earth. Your fleet will proceed no further into our solar system. This is sovereign human territory. You are not welcome here." The alien's 3 eyes widened slightly. Then it made a sound that the translator labeled as amusement. "You dare refuse the Empire? We control 47 species across thousands of worlds. Your entire planet could not resist a single one of our battleships." "Perhaps," Jiho said evenly. "But you should know that we have been listening to your broadcast for 70 years. We have studied your empire very carefully, Admiral. We know what you do to species that accept your protection. The stripped resources, the erased cultures, the puppet governments. We have decided we would rather die free than live as your servants." Zekros leaned closer to his own screen. "You speak boldly for a species that has barely left its own star system. Do you have any idea what exists in this galaxy? The dangers that lurk in deep space? The Empire offers protection, technology, prosperity. The Empire offers slavery with better tools," Jiho replied. "We decline." A long silence followed. The alien admiral studied the human carefully, as if seeing something unexpected. Finally Zekros spoke again, his tone colder now. "I have encountered many species in my service to the Empire, human. Most beg to join us. Some flee in terror. A few fight stupidly and die quickly. But you are the first to simply say no, as if you have any choice in the matter." Jiho stood up from his chair. Behind him, his crew watched in absolute silence. "We are giving you a choice, Admiral. Turn your fleet around and leave our system. We will provide coordinates for a neutral location where we can meet as equals, where we can establish diplomatic relations on fair terms. Or you can try to force your way past us." He paused. "I promise you will regret the second option." Zekros made that amused sound again. "Regret? You have kinetic weapons and primitive fusion drives. We have plasma cannons and gravitational shields. What could you possibly do to make the Empire regret anything?" "That," Jiho said quietly, "is something you will have to discover for yourself if you choose to ignore this warning. Earth is off limits, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact." The alien's expression shifted, becoming harder. "Then I will relay your foolish declaration to the High Command. They will send a proper war fleet to teach your species humility. I suggest you use the time you have left to make peace with whatever gods you believe in." The transmission ended abruptly. Captain Minji moved to stand beside Jiho. "Sir, do you really think they will attack?" "Yes," Jiho said, still staring at the empty screen. "And we will show them why humans are still alive after 10,000 years of trying to kill each other." 3 weeks had passed since Admiral Zekros delivered his report to the Imperial High Command on Centralis Prime. The massive council chamber was filled with representatives from all 47 member species of the Empire, their various forms creating a bizarre collection of scales, fur, feathers, and stranger things. Commander Dian of the Imperial Intelligence Division stood before them, presenting her findings on humanity. She was one of only 3 humans who had defected to the Empire years ago, lured by promises of advanced technology and power. "The species calls themselves humans," Dian explained, her voice echoing through the chamber. "They have occupied their planet, which they call Earth, for approximately 200,000 years. Technologically, they are centuries behind our lowest member species. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no gravitational drives. Their fastest ships use primitive fusion engines. Then why are we wasting time discussing them? Asked Counselor Vex, an insectoid creature from the mineral-rich worlds of Sector 9. Send a demonstration fleet. Destroy a few cities. They will surrender within hours. Emperor Calvex, an ancient being whose species had founded the Empire 3,000 years ago, raised one clawed hand for silence. Commander Dean, you seem troubled. What are you not telling us? Dean hesitated, then continued. Your Majesty, in reviewing their historical databases, I discovered something unusual. Humans have been fighting wars continuously for their entire recorded history. Not occasional conflicts, but constant warfare. Every generation, every century, somewhere on their planet, humans were killing other humans. Primitive savagery, Vex dismissed. Common among young species. No, Dean said firmly. Not like this. Most species fight over resources or territory until they develop sufficient technology to share peacefully. Humans fought over resources, territory, ideology, religion, insults, and sometimes for no clear reason at all. They invented thousands of different ways to kill each other. And every time they learned a new technology, they immediately weaponized it. Fire, chemistry, nuclear fission, artificial intelligence, everything. The chamber fell quiet. Emperor Calvex leaned forward on his throne. Are you suggesting they are a threat? I am suggesting we do not understand them, Dean replied. Their military history contains more tactical data than some of our member species have accumulated in 10,000 years. They study warfare the way we study mathematics. It is woven into their culture. Fascinating, the Emperor said slowly, but ultimately irrelevant. Battle Commander Vraxis, you will take 30 warships to their system. Demonstrate our superiority. Give them one opportunity to surrender peacefully. If they refuse, destroy enough of their infrastructure to make resistance impossible. Battle Commander Vraxis, a massive armored creature standing 3 meters tall, bowed deeply. It will be done within 1 week, Your Majesty. Dean wanted to protest, to warn them that they were making a mistake, but she remained silent. She had betrayed her own species for power and position. Now she would watch them be crushed, and she would have to live with that choice forever. 2 days later, Commander Vraxis and his fleet of 30 warships entered Earth's solar system. They moved past the asteroid belt with confidence, ignoring the small human patrol ships that scattered before them like insects. Primitive cowards, Vraxis muttered to his tactical officer. Send them the surrender demand. Before the message could even be transmitted, Vraxis's sensors detected multiple launches from the human ships. Dozens of small objects were accelerating toward his fleet. Chemical rockets, his weapons officer reported, amusement in his voice. Should we even bother with countermeasures? Let our shields handle them, Vraxis said dismissively. But these were not ordinary missiles. As they approached, they accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The lead projectile struck Vraxis's forward destroyer before anyone could react. The kinetic energy was so massive that the destroyer simply ceased to exist, vaporized instantly. Shields up. Evasive maneuvers. Vraxis roared, but it was too late. The human weapons weren't explosive missiles. They were solid metal slugs accelerated to relativistic speeds. No shield in the Empire's arsenal was designed to stop that much raw kinetic force. Within 6 minutes, 18 of his 30 ships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining vessels, including Vraxis's badly damaged flagship, fled back beyond the asteroid belt. As they retreated, a transmission from the human ship Defiance reached them. Ambassador Jiho's face appeared on screen, his expression hard. We warned you, Jiho said simply. Earth is off limits. The Imperial High Command was in chaos. News of Battle Commander Vraxis's defeat had spread through the Empire like wildfire. 18 warships destroyed by a primitive species that should not have posed any threat at all. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was war. Emperor Calvex owned his best military strategists and xenoanthropologists to the palace. He needed to understand what had happened before he committed more resources to this conflict. Dr. Haiwan, a human xenoanthropologist who had joined the Empire 15 years ago, stood before the War Council with a grim expression. She had spent weeks studying everything humanity had ever broadcast into space. Your Majesty, I believe I understand what makes humans dangerous, Haiwan began. Every species in this empire evolved with natural defenses. Armor, venom, claws, size, speed. Humans have none of these things. They are weak, slow, and fragile compared to most galactic species. Then how did they defeat our fleet? demanded Grand Admiral Sector, a decorated warrior who had never lost a battle in 40 years of service. Because they had to, Haiwan said quietly. Humans evolved on a death world. Their planet had predators faster than them, stronger than them, more dangerous than them. They should have gone extinct. Instead, they survived by becoming the most creative killers in their world's history. They made weapons from rocks, then metal, then chemistry, then atoms themselves. When they had no natural advantages, they invented artificial ones. She pulled up holographic displays showing human history. Look at this. In just the last century of their development, they created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Nuclear bombs, biological warfare, chemical agents. They built enough weapons to kill every human on Earth 100 times over. And the terrifying part? They never used the worst of them. They understood the concept of mutually assured destruction and used it to maintain peace. Emperor Calvex studied the images carefully. They threatened to destroy themselves? They threatened to destroy everyone, Haiwan corrected. That is the human way. If they cannot win, they ensure nobody wins. Commander Vraxis learned this when humans used kinetic weapons traveling at near light speed. Simple physics turned into devastating weapons. They do not fight fair, Your Majesty. They fight to survive, and they will use anything available to them. Enough, Sector interrupted. I have heard enough excuses. They are one planet. We are an empire of thousands. I will take the Grand Armada, 500 warships, and I will crush them completely. No warnings, no mercy. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Finally he nodded. Do it. But be careful, Admiral. These humans are proving to be more dangerous than they appear. 4 weeks later, the Grand Armada arrived at Earth's solar system. 500 warships, the largest military force the Empire had assembled in centuries. Grand Admiral Sector was confident. No species in galactic history had survived when the Grand Armada was deployed. But as his fleet crossed into human territory, everything changed. The humans had used the time well. Hidden weapons platforms had been built throughout the asteroid belt and Kuiper belt. Converted asteroids became mobile fortresses. Small human ships darted between the larger Imperial vessels like angry wasps. The humans did not fight in formation. They did not follow standard tactics. They used guerrilla warfare, false retreats, and psychological attacks. They broadcast horrifying images from human history, showing what humans did to each other in wars. If they could do this to their own species, the message was clear: imagine what they would do to aliens. Human pilots rammed their ships into Imperial cruisers when their weapons ran out. Defense platforms fought until they were completely destroyed, never surrendering. Every battle was a nightmare of unpredictable chaos. The Battle of Saturn's Rings lasted for 3 days. When it finally ended, Sector's fleet had won. They controlled the outer solar system. But the cost was devastating. 200 ships destroyed or damaged beyond repair. 40% of the Grand Armada, gone. Sector stood on his command deck, staring at the blue and green planet that hung in the distance. So beautiful, so small, so incredibly dangerous. Prepare for orbital bombardment, he ordered quietly. We end this now. But even as he gave the command, Sector felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of warfare. He felt afraid. Grand Admiral Sector's fleet surrounded Earth like a metal cage. 300 warships remained from his original 500, enough firepower to turn the planet's surface into molten glass. He opened a communication channel to the human government, expecting them to finally surrender. Ambassador Jiho appeared on screen, broadcasting from somewhere deep underground. His face was tired, covered in dust, but his eyes were still defiant. This is your final chance, Sector said. Surrender now and your species will be allowed to survive as servants of the Empire. Refuse and we will bombard your planet until nothing lives. Jiho smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. Admiral, let me tell you a story from human history. In our year 1945, 2 nations possessed weapons that could destroy entire cities in single explosions. They realized that if one side attacked, the other would launch their weapons before being destroyed. Both sides would die. Do you know what we called this strategy? I do not care about your primitive history, Sector growled. Mutually assured destruction, Jiho continued. We guaranteed peace by guaranteeing that everyone would die if war began. It worked for decades. He leaned closer to the camera. We have applied that same strategy to this situation, Admiral. Sector felt a cold sensation spreading through his body. What have you done? 3 months ago, when we first detected your Empire's broadcasts, we began a secret project. We built hundreds of small faster-than-light drones. Each one carries a payload accelerated to relativistic speeds. Each one is aimed at the homeworld of a council species. Jiho's voice remained calm. Right now, those drones are positioned in orbit around every major planet in your empire. Including yours, Admiral. The command deck fell silent. Sector's tactical officer quickly checked the sensor data from across the empire. His face went pale. Sir, he is telling the truth. We are detecting unknown objects in high orbits around 43 council homeworlds. They match human FTL signatures. You are insane, Sector whispered. You would destroy entire planets? Billions of innocent lives? Would we? Jiho asked. Or are we just showing you what you were willing to do to us? You came here to destroy our planet, Admiral. Every human city, every human child, gone. And you felt justified because we refused to be your slaves. He paused. Now you know how it feels to face extinction. Sector's mind raced. We can find those drones. We can destroy them. Maybe, Jiho admitted. Our intelligence suggests you have found about 40% of them in the past 3 weeks. But that leaves 60% still active. Can you accept those odds, Admiral? Can your Emperor? If you destroy Earth, at least 25 Council homeworlds will die. Can your empire survive losing half its members? This is madness, Sector said. No civilized species would weaponize FTL travel this way. You are right, Jiho agreed. No civilized species would. But we are humans, Admiral. We have spent 10,000 years finding new ways to kill. We have fought wars that lasted decades, conflicts that consumed entire continents. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and ourselves. Do you really think we fear death? His voice hardened. We have already calculated acceptable losses. 3 billion humans live on Earth. 7 billion more are scattered through our solar system, in underground colonies and space habitats. Even if you destroy our homeworld, our species survives. Can you say the same? The standoff lasted for 3 weeks. Emperor Calvex sent his best intelligence teams to locate every human drone, but they could not find them all. The devices were small, stealthy, and scattered across thousands of light years. Meanwhile, human resistance continued. Small ships launched suicide attacks against Imperial vessels. Defense platforms hidden in Earth's moon fired constantly. Every day, more Imperial ships were damaged or destroyed. Finally, Emperor Calvex himself opened a direct channel to Earth. His ancient face appeared on screens across the planet. I wish to speak with your leaders, he said simply. Not as conqueror to conquered, but as one ruler to another. Perhaps we have both underestimated each other. Ambassador Jiho, standing in the ruined command center of Earth's defense headquarters, felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had survived. Against impossible odds, humanity had forced the greatest empire in the galaxy to negotiate. We accept, Jiho said. Let us talk. The neutral space station floated in empty space, halfway between Earth and the nearest Imperial world. It had been constructed in just 2 weeks by both human and Imperial engineers working together for the first time. Inside the main conference room, 2 very different groups faced each other across a simple table. Emperor Calvex sat with his advisors on one side, his ancient eyes studying the humans carefully. On the other side sat President Sora, the elected leader of Earth's united government, along with Ambassador Jiho and several military commanders. Both sides looked exhausted. The war had cost too much already. I must ask you a question, Emperor Calvex began, his voice tired. Why do you resist so fiercely? We offered you technology that would advance your species by centuries. We offered you protection from the dangers of this galaxy. We offered you membership in the greatest civilization known to exist. Why choose war instead? President Sora leaned forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and steady hands. Because we have learned, through terrible experience, that freedom given can be freedom taken away. Throughout our history, we have seen empires promise protection and deliver slavery. We have watched powerful nations claim they were helping weaker ones while stealing their resources and destroying their cultures. She paused. We would rather die free than live as your servants, no matter how comfortable that servitude might be. But you are one planet, Calvex said, frustration creeping into his voice. We are thousands. How long can you maintain this defiance? Dr. Haiwan, the human xenoanthropologist who had studied her own species for the Empire, spoke up from her position beside the Emperor. Your Majesty, if I may explain something about humans? Calvex nodded. Humans are persistence hunters, Haiwan said. On their world they were not the fastest or strongest predators. But they were the most stubborn. They would chase prey for days, sometimes weeks, never giving up until their target collapsed from exhaustion. This trait is buried deep in human psychology. They do not know how to surrender. Every defeat teaches them new ways to fight. Every loss makes them more determined. She pulled up holographic images showing human history. Look at these conflicts. Humans fought wars that lasted 30 years, 100 years. They fought battles where 90% of their forces were destroyed, and the remaining 10% continued fighting. They created weapons that could kill millions, and when those weapons became too terrible to use, they created different ones. They never stop adapting, never stop learning. Grand Admiral Sector, sitting beside the Emperor with his arm in a medical brace, added his own perspective. I have fought 40 years of battles, Your Majesty. I have conquered dozens of species. But humans fight differently. They do not care about honor or glory. They care only about survival. They will sacrifice anything, do anything to protect their home. Integrating them into the empire would not bring peace. It would bring endless rebellion, constant resistance. We would spend centuries trying to control them, and they would spend centuries finding new ways to resist. Emperor Calvex sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he looked directly at President Sora. What do you propose? Leave us alone, Sora said simply. Recognize Earth and our solar system as independent and sovereign. We will not expand aggressively into your territory. We will not attack your worlds. But we will defend our home against anyone who threatens it. In return, we offer trade, cultural exchange, and diplomatic relations as equals. Equals? Calvex repeated the word as if tasting something unfamiliar. Yes, Sora confirmed. Not as members of your empire, but as an independent nation that happens to share the same galaxy. We can be friends, partners, even allies. But we will never be your subjects. The negotiations continued for 3 more days. Legal experts argued over boundaries and definitions. Military commanders established protocols for future encounters. Diplomats carefully crafted language that both sides could accept. Finally, the Treaty of Solar Sovereignty was signed. Earth and its solar system were officially recognized as off-limits to imperial authority. Humanity would remain independent, free to develop on its own terms. As the ceremony concluded, Emperor Calvex approached President Sora privately. We have conquered 1,000 worlds, he said quietly. But we could not conquer one. I am not certain whether to admire you or fear you. Sora smiled. Perhaps both, Your Majesty. Perhaps both. 6 months later, the first human exploration vessels began carefully venturing beyond their solar system, carrying a message to any species they encountered. We come in peace, prepared for war. Deal with us as equals or do not deal with us at all. The galaxy had discovered humanity. And humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson about the price of freedom and the strength of those who refused to surrender. The end.